양지 진불도던 힘이 장존의 문음 진불가 겼다 바그라 다른 잔도 실물도 tumbadik janla ki shamsar mechanrawar saringi jankamsa jawar tukji shanla yilarma jime panzo jala sara de gongje toban bawra shinji lo gongje toban bawra shinji lo gongje toban bawra shinji.
Profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we can hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate sentient beings, please generate Bodhicitta before today's teaching. Today we'll continue with the Sutra of Great Liberation. This sutra is truly extraordinary. How fortunate we are that before we die, we have encountered this sutra and have the opportunity to hear it, and we can also contemplate and practice it. For each of us, among all the things we could possibly obtain, this should be the most important attainment. We have already discussed how this sutra, whether for those who have broken precepts or hold wrong views, or even those who have committed the 5 acts of immediate retribution, can eliminate all karmic obscurations and enables them to enjoy the resources of the 3 jewels. Why is this so? As the Buddha spoke of his own experience earlier, that over many lifetimes and eons, he too had wandered in samsara for a very long time across many lifetimes and eons, having never encountered this Dharma. Later, after encountering this sutra, he received his prophecy before Tathagata Unchanging Light of his future Buddhahood. Of course, for the Buddha, there were actually many sutras through which he received prophecy, but these were all from different levels and different perspectives. The supreme qualities of the Dharma teachings the Buddha encountered at that time, and the extraordinary nature of the spiritual teachers he met, can be explained from different angles. Now we continue with the dialogue between the Buddha and Bodhisattva Akashagarbha. I may not remember the earlier part very clearly. At that time the Buddha said, "Therefore, son of the lineage, the might and power of this enumeration of Mahayana Dharma is inconceivable, which is like the essence of a jewel, and which gives ethics to one who has broken their ethics and gives precious jewels to the poor." Here the Buddha tells Bodhisattva Akashagarbha the power of such Mahayana sutras, like the Sutra of Great Liberation we are discussing here, is actually like bestowing precious jewels, inconceivable. If someone were to give you a wish-fulfilling jewel that grants all your needs, it would be like that. If someone obtains a Mahayana Sutra, the benefits they receive are truly inconceivable. The next line says, "Giving to those with broken precepts the jewel of poverty and proper conduct." This sentence is quite difficult to understand in both Tibetan and Chinese, but the meaning should be as follows. Because this sutra's blessings and its power are both inconceivable, in what way are they inconceivable? Through this sutra, for those who have broken precepts, if they frequently recite this sutra, it's like obtaining a wish-fulfilling jewel. All their poverty and suffering will be eliminated. There are also those who are impoverished, whether in thought or in spirit. Relying on this sutra as one would a wish-fulfilling jewel, what do they receive? They are bestowed with precious jewels, pure precepts, wealth and prosperity, and so forth. In the Tibetan, what is discussed here doesn't make these 2 characters very clear, but the meaning can still be conveyed this way. Whether those with broken precepts or the impoverished, relying on this kind of principle, it's like bestowing a wish-fulfilling jewel. Receiving a precious jewel in this way, their original deficiencies and suffering can all be eliminated. This should be the meaning. In the Tibetan, there is an additional line, and that is verse of praise. Praising what? Here it says, "Son of the lineage." As everyone knows that the power of Mahayana Sutras is truly inconceivable. How fortunate we are today to have encountered the Mahayana Dharma. We will especially emphasize the merit of the Mahayana. Some time ago I also mentioned among all Buddhist sutras, there is specifically the sutra praising the merit of the Mahayana. This was translated by Xuanzang at a monastery, and the day he completed the translation is commemorated. At that monastery, every year they hold commemorative activities with special significance. We could put it this way: we have to truly understand what the teachings of the Mahayana is, the thought of the Mahayana, and the meaning of the Mahayana. We should not only know theoretically, but we should also practice it. What we call the Mahayana is actually benefiting sentient beings and severing self-interest, as stated in the Kshitigarbha Ten Wheels Sutra and in the Avatamsaka Sutra. Sutra. These two are quite similar. In the Avatamsaka Sutra, it says, not seeking happiness for myself, but wishing all beings to be free from suffering. What is said here is the same meaning, not caring for one's own happiness, seeking only the happiness of all beings. This is what it means to dwell in the Mahayana, not caring for one's own happiness, seeking only the happiness of sentient beings. This is truly dwelling in the Mahayana. Dwelling in the Mahayana actually means wholeheartedly thinking of sentient beings, not seeking fame and gain for oneself, not seeking one's own happiness. Of course, this is very difficult for beginners, although theoretically we can understand that the Mahayana is excellent and everyone is willing to accept it, while when it comes to actual practice, there are certain difficulties. What is this about? Actually, when we hear and contemplate, it's like our ideals, quite beautiful, but when we actually try to practice, whether it's the teachings of Mahayana Buddhism or the meaning of emptiness teachings, they are quite difficult. For example, when we talk about benefiting sentient beings, not caring for one's own happiness, but seeking to benefit all beings, which is very beautiful. Everyone greatly praises it. When you practice it, if someone asks you, are you Mahayana? I am a Mahayana practitioner, but can you truly do this? At this time, everyone says, no, I can't help it. I'm really sorry, I can't do it. But the teaching of the Mahayana is just like this. I am a Mahayana practitioner. Some Mahayana practitioners' behavior does indeed conflict with Mahayana principles. It's not only our Mahayana theory, but also the teaching of emptiness. Everyone who has studied the 400 verses on the Middle Way and the fundamental wisdom of the Middle Way may know that while learning about the selflessness of persons, I truly don't exist. Everyone understands very clearly, I don't exist. We completely comprehend it theoretically without a single flaw. But when I interact with others, is there a separation between us or not? If there is separation, it's like the eastern and western mountains. If there's no separation, then the other person and I merge into one and so forth. And when we use such reasoning, there are no problems. But when you actually put it into practice, no way, I still exist. I am me. Just now, when studying Madhyamaka, nothing existed. But now, when it's time to eat, I still exist, right? The precious garland of the Middle Way and the 8th chapter of the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life taught us about the impurity of the body. Truly, whether it's someone else's body or my own body, inside it's very dirty. The very clean substances like camphor become very foul after passing through the body. Theoretically, there are no problems, but theory is just theory. Afterwards, we still cling to our own and others' bodies. So why, when the theory is clearly like this, is there actually such a huge gap between the two? Actually, we haven't yet reached the level of noble beings like arhats and bodhisattvas from the 1st to the 10th ground. They not only understand theoretically, but in their practice, their realization has also caught up. Once they truly reach the level of Buddhahood, at that point they have completely attained this realization. At that time, not only is the theory like this, but their actual realization is also like this. But we ordinary beings, it seems we understand theoretically, but in actuality, it truly is very difficult. Just like I mentioned, with the Mahayana teaching, not seeking happiness for myself. Wow, that's wonderful. I should be like that too. Wishing all beings to be free from suffering. Oh, that's also very good. But why don't you do it? If someone just glares at you, you never forget it. The slightest incident, just to protect your own interests, makes you desperately want revenge. Why? It's the habitual tendencies of us ordinary beings. In our ordinary minds, there's truly a massive heap of permanence, bliss, self, and purity. Clearly, that's what the theory says. The theory is one thing, but we still can't fully integrate theory and practice. Everyone should understand why this is. So why do we need to hear, contemplate, and meditate? Just hearing is not enough. We all can talk about the theory. I've been teaching the Dharma for 30 or 40 years. Although my eloquence isn't very good, basically I can teach it. When it comes to actual practice, truly, sometimes when I think about it in the morning, when I think about it before going to sleep at night, sometimes I may be truly quite poor, while sometimes I also feel fairly satisfied. Since this kind of practice over many lifetimes and eons, bit by bit, is not something something achieved in one leap. Not that all realizations manifest immediately at once. It's not like that. If it really were like that, why Buddha Shakyamuni spent such a long time on the causal ground to accumulate merit and purifying obscurations through 3 incalculable eons, because kind of effort is needed. Therefore, we need to have a very stable mind. From the worldly perspective, first, a stable character is very important for our studies, and it is the same when we study Buddhism. Today learning this, tomorrow learning that. After a couple of days, everything disappears completely. That's not good. It should be bit by bit, keeping accumulating, keeping practicing. Don't demand too much of yourself. If your demands are too high, you might end up very disappointed. Below, what we'll discuss here are all the extraordinary merits of the Mahayana, which if you haven't had some exposure about, you might think, is the Buddha just very good at applying all kinds of analogies to praise Mahayana Buddhism? Actually, it's not like that. If you truly enter into the Mahayana thought, you will understand it truly is very extraordinary. Below, we'll continue further. The Mahayana is like the great ocean. The lesser vehicle is like water in an ox's hoofprint. This analogy is given for the thought of the Mahayana. The Mahayana should be a kind of vehicle. And we could also say it is a kind of thought. What is the thought of Mahayana Buddhism like? It's like the great ocean. Whether in breadth or depth, it's profoundly deep and unfathomable, inconceivable. In comparison, the lesser vehicle and worldly vehicles, their thought is like the water in the hoofprint, trampled by a yak. Very little, very little. It cannot contain very much. Some people who study the Mahayana, they're very inclusive. In their thinking, everything can be accepted and accommodated, but certain lesser vehicle or worldly thoughts, they're very sensitive, very narrow and limited. For this reason, it's said in the great treatise on the perfection of wisdom, the Mahayana is like the ocean. The lesser vehicle is like water in an ox's hoofprint. Because it is small, it cannot receive the great. Its analogy is also like this. Mahayana refers to the Mahayana Dharma, and the Mahayana, as just mentioned, is like the great ocean. The lesser vehicle is like water in an ox's hoofprint because it is very tiny, very minute, and it cannot accept the great. Everyone knows that the water contained in an ox's hoofprint, once the sun shines on it, it dries up. It's very small. If compared with the water of the great ocean, the gap is truly very large. If you encounter followers, the lesser vehicle, and of course there are certain original Buddhism traditions nowadays, do they have benefits and merits? Yes, they do. But compared with Mahayana Buddhist thought, there's truly a great difference. As Mahayana practitioners, we should examine this ourselves. What does Mahayana Buddhist thought offer, whether for society or for individuals? For this life and future lives, we should analyze it. The difference is truly significant. The Mahayana is like Mount Sumeru. The lesser vehicle is like an anthill. In terms of size, Mahayana Buddhism is like Mount Sumeru, standing between heaven and earth, utterly immovable, extremely majestic, and the lesser vehicle is equivalent to a city made by ants or their anthill. It appears to be a pile, but actually, compared with Mount Sumeru, there is a certain difference. The Mahayana is like the sun and moon, and the light can illuminate the entire world and dispel all the darkness. The lesser vehicle is like struck sparks, and struck sparks might not be the right term. It's like tiny sparks being struck, small flashes that last only briefly and can illuminate just a tiny area for a moment. Beyond that, they can do nothing more. From the perspective of wisdom, the wisdom of Mahayana Buddhism is like the sun and moon, able to dispel all the darkness of ignorance in all sentient beings' minds. The lesser vehicle for certain sentient beings, those who have karmic connections, can dispel certain darkness. This vehicle, which is the great vehicle, is the unimaginable vehicle. Therefore, in some sutras, it has various different names: the wonderful vehicle, the supreme vehicle, the inconceivable vehicle, and many other different names. Therefore, it is called the great vehicle and also called the inconceivable vehicle. For example, it is like the sky. It accommodates all sentient beings. Within this thought, it can accept all sentient beings, all kinds of different discriminations, different thoughts, and different behaviors, just like our sky. As we all know, space accommodates everything, whether animals or plants, the animate and inanimate world. everything. Nothing is excluded. There are no obstructions whatsoever. Within space, everything can be accommodated. Space can hold everything. Similarly, in Mahayana, we should be able to accept everything. The question is, are we ourselves truly Mahayana practitioners or not? This is something we need to examine within ourselves. Although the Mahayana thought is vast beyond measure, profoundly deep and unfathomable, our own minds fundamentally don't have this level of realization. Perhaps we don't even match up to the lesser vehicle. We don't even match the kind of tolerance found in the world. Yet we claim that we are Mahayana Buddhism practitioners, or even, I'm studying the great perfection, the secret teachings, and saying that we who practice the secret teachings, how we are, and so on. Some people often show off themselves. We study the esoteric teachings before exoteric Dharma teachers. You are exoteric, looking down on them like that. Actually, this is unreasonable. In name, you study the esoteric, you study the Mahayana, but actually, do you yourself have this kind of realization? Do you have this kind of mind to benefit others? If you don't, we can say the Dharma you study is Mahayana, the Dharma you study is esoteric, but you haven't yet entered into these ranks. We can say this. So sometimes when we say, I study the great perfection, I have generated bodhicitta. If you've truly generated bodhicitta, let's take a look. Some time ago, I saw a joke online. This was in Tibetan. It said, as a practitioner, you should be a good person. More importantly, bodhicitta is best. Just then, someone came and gave him a hard slap with their hand. If you have bodhicitta, you hit them hard. Is that reasonable? Definitely not reasonable. This isn't in Chinese. You might not understand it. Sometimes we are genuine practitioners whose name matches reality, but sometimes the name doesn't match the reality. We're Mahayana in name only. Yet when we truly measure ourselves against these standards, we know deep down what we really are. The true Dharma of the Mahayana is just like space, and it can accommodate everything. From among all many vehicles, there are none that go beyond this vehicle. Among all vehicles, as for vehicles. We also discussed its definition before when teaching the condensed perfection of wisdom. This vehicle is like the boundless palace of space. As for all vehicles, whether in the vehicle of humans and gods or in the lesser vehicle, and also thoughts, actually non-Buddhists also have non-Buddhist vehicles. Relying on it, you go to a certain place. For example, when we study art, although in the art world they don't really say this, actually art can be regarded as a kind of vehicle. Culture is a kind of vehicle, and science is also a kind of vehicle, since you rely on it, depending on it, to reach your destination. That's how we understand of the meaning of vehicles, and they can be categorized into the causal vehicle and the resultant vehicle. One is the destination reached is called the resultant vehicle, and the other is relying on it while on the way to the destination. This is called the causal vehicle. Among all worldly and supramundane vehicles, this vehicle is the foremost. Thus, this great vehicle surpasses all vehicles. The Mahayana in the world surpasses all vehicles. As for surpassing all vehicles, actually, it's not just us Buddhists saying so, and that makes it true. I've also said the thought of Mahayana can be divided into the aspect of great compassion and great wisdom. Regarding great compassion, can we say it's foremost in our world today? We can analyze this. And regarding great wisdom, the wisdom that realizes emptiness, can we say it's the foremost vehicle in the world, as I just mentioned? Let's analyze this from a theoretical perspective. We don't need faith here. For now, let's set aside faith and just discuss theory. Speaking purely theoretically, in our human world, or in the entire world of sentient beings, is great compassion needed? Let's examine this. Among all the worldly knowledge we have, when realizing the true nature of all phenomena, is the wisdom that realizes emptiness powerful or not? At this point, we all know, the wisdom of the Mahayana is truly surpass everything, whether in terms of great compassion or in terms of wisdom. It's not that actually it doesn't surpass at all, but we Buddhists start boasting ourselves, we surpass everything. In that case, if a poor person thinks I'm the richest person in the world, that's impossible. There is a certain difference. Here it says, the lesser vehicle has limits, cannot liberate all. Only this supreme vehicle can truly liberate all sentient beings. As for the lesser vehicle, because its view has limits, and it only contemplates the selflessness of persons, it can only liberate a portion, not all sentient beings. For sentient beings particularly interested in the selflessness of persons, the lesser vehicle teachings can liberate them. However, only the supreme vehicle can actually encompass everything. That is to say, the supreme vehicle also acknowledges lesser vehicle thought, as the selflessness of persons is actually included within emptiness. Therefore, the Mahayana can encompass everything, and it can liberate all sentient beings. If we want to liberate all sentient beings, it's best to study Mahayana Buddhism. If we study Mahayana Buddhism, it's not only benefiting ourselves, but also all sentient beings can be beneficial from it, since Mahayana thought includes the viewpoint of the lesser vehicle. For this reason, both liberating ourselves and others can be included. If it's the lesser vehicle, it won't work. Some of these teachings truly appear in different sutras as well. The Sutra of Questions of Brahma Vishesakintin that I mentioned earlier contains many similar meanings. For example, we say here, the lesser vehicle has limits, and in that sutra it says, other vehicles have limits, cannot benefit all. Only this supreme vehicle can truly liberate all sentient beings. Here there's only a 1 or 2 character difference, and the rest can be quoted. So with some sutras, we all know that this one is spoken to Bodhisattva Akashagarbha and that sutra is spoken to Brahma Vishesachintin, but some thoughts should be the same. I see basically there are no differences, especially several verses before and after this. So whether it's the viewpoint of other sutras or the Sutra of Great Liberation, the lesser vehicle cannot liberate all sentient beings. We should also know now, Tibetan Buddhism, it is Mahayana Buddhism. When we teach Mahayana Buddhism, whether it's the vehicle of humans and gods or the Shravaka vehicle, all vehicles, vehicle by vehicle, all are taught very clearly. But if we have studied some other, including current lesser vehicle teachings, we would find that for the Mahayana, basically, they don't even acknowledge it as the Buddha's teaching. Moreover, the many teachings about the meaning of emptiness and great compassion have not been engaged in the lesser vehicle, as they feel afraid, fearful, and unable to accept. So we here are truly very fortunate to have encountered Mahayana Buddhism. Otherwise, when we first entered into religion, you didn't have particularly mature wisdom. If you had encountered some non-Buddhist or other vehicles, so-called teachers or gurus, we would 100% definitely listen to them. Just like some university students nowadays, no matter what the teacher is like, they repeat it. In the past, among us Tibetans, there was a teacher who slandered monastics and monasteries every day, and many of his students were also basically exactly the same. They learned from the teacher, these monastics are such and such, monasteries are like this and that. Actually, they fundamentally have no ability to analyze. If you have very mature wisdom, at a certain point you will analyze independently. That's why I say that many of us here have very good fortune. If our luck weren't good, we might have been born into non-Buddhist religions. We also think that Mahayana Buddhism is especially good. Although on one hand, non-Buddhist religions also have many good aspects in terms of liberation in this life and future lives, and benefiting sentient beings, I feel many thoughts of Mahayana Buddhism are incomparable. Below it says, as for this sky-like great vehicle, those who practice it are limitless. If one wishes to practice the boundless, space like Mahayana Buddhism, just as the sky is without limit and also has neither form nor shape, actually the thought of the Mahayana truly has no difference from space, extremely vast, accommodating all phenomena. Just like space has no measure, space also has no form or color. The Mahayana is also a kind of thought. Even though we probably can't see it with the eyes, no one can see it if we haven't encountered Buddhist sutras, and we also can't hear it with our ears, no form or color. But once this thought enters into our wisdom channel, our lives will be transformed. Many of us here were very selfish when first arriving. Everyone is quite clear about this. Also quite famous. Finally, when leaving this place, also quite famous, especially wanting to benefit others, liberate sentient beings. beings. This is also something everyone can witness with their own eyes. So sometimes study and this wisdom truly can change many people's destinies. When you entered, you were selfish. You probably couldn't even be called lesser vehicle in thought, an especially terrible person. Then after studying here briefly for several years, several months, finally when leaving this place, we can say you return with a full load full of altruism. The thought of benefiting others is all packed in your belly. Your belly has become big and round like Maitreya Buddha. Then you go to your own place and begin to share with other sentient beings all the various kinds of altruistic things from your belly. Although the Mahayana, like space, has no form or color, it can accommodate everything. This is its characteristic. The Mahayana is also thus boundless and without obstruction. Space has no measure and also no obstruction. The Mahayana is also like this. All sentient beings riding on this great vehicle, if many sentient beings ride on such a great vehicle, meaning they study such Mahayana teachings, when you conceptualize the characteristics of the great vehicle, it has an enormous size and has room for multitudes. If many sentient beings ride on such a Mahayana, and they themselves examine and analyze the characteristics of the vehicle, what are the characteristics of the Mahayana? The characteristics of the Mahayana ultimately are benefiting others. It should be extremely vast and able to accept absolutely everything. So sometimes when we truly teach Mahayana Buddhism, we might know it in our hearts, but not necessarily be able to express it. But truly, in actual life, Mahayana Buddhism is especially remarkable. How fortunate we are to have encountered such Mahayana Buddhism. This should be the result of accumulating merit and making offerings to the Tathagatas over countless eons in past lives. In this life, the maturing of our aspirations or our own incomparable wisdom should be truly excellent. And this way, it's not just we Buddhists saying so and it's correct. The other day, I saw an entrepreneur who said Buddha Shakyamuni is very powerful. At that time, I thought, if he were to understand Mahayana Buddhism, I'm not sure if he has studied Mahayana Buddhism, but looking at this person, he probably understands something. If he truly studied Mahayana Buddhism, his praise would be even greater. Although in the comments below, some people praise him while others keep saying this and that about him. But no matter what, he's also from the free thinking school and he just states his own views. If he understood Mahayana Buddhism, it would be even more powerful, even more worthy of praise. I'd like to share this short video with everyone. Let me have a sip of water.
What is the most successful business company in the world? Not McDonald's, not KFC, not those Fortune 500 global chains. The one with the most successful worldwide chain is actually Shakyamuni Buddha. Next, let me break down their business model for you. Are you interested? If we compare it to a company with a chairman, just look at how remarkable their company is. The headquarters is in India, and their enterprise has been around for over 2,000 years. So let me ask you, do they have a lot of customers? Do they have a lot of employees? They have countless branch offices in auspicious places according to Feng Shui. Do the employees get paid at all? No, they don't. Is there anyone managing them if they're not paid? No one manages them whatsoever. Isn't their corporate culture incredibly impressive? Do you know how strong their corporate culture is? To follow the chairman, they give up everything, even their hair. They all share the same hairstyle, uniform, and culture. When meeting others, they greet with Amitabha. Who else manages their corporate culture this well? The key is, the very first thing they do every single morning is to remember their chairman. Please raise your hand if you truly understand. This company has been around for an incredible 2,500 years, a 100% satisfaction rate, and absolutely zero complaints.
Isn't that impressive? Same hairstyle, same uniform.
Actually, the Mahayana is even more powerful. As for the good qualities of the great vehicle and the practices only for this vehicle, even if you were to explain them for many limitless eons, at the end you still wouldn't be able to finish. If over countless eons we truly speak of the merits of Mahayana Buddhism and also of the merits of those who study and practice Mahayana Buddhism, then it couldn't be fully expressed over countless eons. Therefore, it should be the most supreme. Generally speaking, it's very difficult to express. We can't finish speaking about it, as truly the merits of Mahayana Buddhism are inconceivable. Sometimes we also know, after studying Mahayana Buddhism, what the merits of this Dharma are. We should find them truly worthy of praise, the merits of those who have generated Mahayana Bodhicitta, if we were to describe them, perhaps taking one or two great masters as examples, those who have truly generated Mahayana Bodhicitta for the sake of sentient beings, their life's deeds. For us to fully describe them is sometimes impossible. These truly great masters, like our Guru, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok, a great pile of merits, all benefiting sentient beings. Their entire lives are lived for sentient beings. So regarding all this, truly everyone can slowly contemplate and understand the meaning within. From among all the many vehicles, the Mahayana is supreme of the best. We probably need to adjust the word order. The great vehicle is most supreme. If you adopt this great vehicle from the depth of your heart, you will directly travel to the base of the tree of enlightenment. Among all vehicles, as just mentioned, the Mahayana is the most powerful, the most supreme. If we wholeheartedly accept the Mahayana, we will definitely proceed toward the Bodhi tree, attaining the fruit of Bodhi beneath the Bodhi tree. Everyone should know, if we wholeheartedly accept Mahayana Buddhism and practice the 6 paramitas and myriad practices, we will definitely attain the fruit of Bodhi. If we don't wholeheartedly accept Mahayana Buddhism with other vehicles, perhaps over many eons, many years, through ascetic practices or cultivation, we might not necessarily be able to attain the ultimate fruit of Bodhi, having neither fetters nor obstructions, this unsurpassed vehicle. Mahayana Buddhism has no bondage, no obstruction. What we call the Supreme Mahayana today is superior to the lesser vehicles and will come to exist in the center of enlightenment. It can actually surpass other vehicles of humans and gods, inferior vehicles. For this very reason, actually, this vehicle many people have no way to accept. Just like in Han region, there is the text composed by Stiramati, translated as the Mahayana Sutralankara. In the Mahayana Sutralankara, it says, "Those of dull faculties and little wisdom do not believe in the Mahayana, because they cannot believe they have no vehicles at all. Those with dull faculties and lacking wisdom, generally speaking, find it very difficult to generate faith in Mahayana teachings, because they don't have true faith in Mahayana Buddhism. It's difficult for them to accept all the other vehicles, as all Buddhist teachings can be contained in Mahayana Buddhism. If you don't have faith in Mahayana Buddhism, it's very difficult." We also mentioned earlier the inconceivable views and conduct of Mahayana Buddhism only those with great wisdom can accept. Ordinary people, the inconceivable many realizations are very difficult to accept. The Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, contemplating the 12 links of dependent origination. Out of his compassion, taught Mahayana Sutras to sentient beings. From the Buddha's perspective, we can also explain it this way. Or in the future, if we practice Mahayana Buddhism, we will sit beneath the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, and then through contemplating the Mahayana 12 links of dependent origination, because the 12 links of dependent origination are generally the practice of Pratyeka Buddhas. But if we practice Mahayana Buddhism, after completing the Mahayana 12 links of dependent origination, we will have compassion for sentient beings and teach Mahayana Buddhism to them. So the Mahayana truly has a tremendous transforming effect on one's own mind. Those of us here, after studying Mahayana Buddhism, at minimum our own speech and conduct are completely different from before. Previously, although I was a Buddhist, I have focused on seeking my own liberation and focused on myself in all actions. As for truly benefiting others, perhaps in one's conduct very little. But since studying Mahayana Buddhism, one's own conduct has greatly transformed. So this generating of bodhicitta is extremely valuable, whether on the causal or resultant ground. Some sutras teach that the Mahayana aspiration is equivalent to gold. Whether it has become a finished product or when it's still ore, actually gold still has value. Although when it's ore, many impurities outside, it's also valuable. Although it hasn't been hammered and refined, hasn't been truly polished yet, this gold is extremely valuable. So right now, the Mahayana Buddhism in the minds of us ordinary beings, actually on the outside, there should be much defilement from selfishness. But because our altruistic bodhicitta is extremely pure, valuable, powerful, and meaningful, therefore Mahayana Buddhism here, everyone should understand. Today, those of us here might think, oh, perhaps other vehicles are also supreme. I know they may also be supreme in a certain sense. The 84,000 teachings spoken by the Buddha actually for each sentient being should have benefit. There's nothing to say about this. But overall, from the larger perspective, the thought of Mahayana Buddhism is truly inconceivable. I also feel for all of us gathered here, human life is extremely difficult to obtain. Having obtained this rare human existence when we encounter such precious jewels, we have to first recognize them for what they are. If we fail to recognize them, it's truly a great loss. Think of it this way. You might arrive somewhere with especially many treasures, but without understanding their worth, without recognizing what you found. How unfortunate. Since you've already recognized them, but you haven't accepted them, that's also very regrettable. It's like you went to a jewel island. You can clearly see the gold and wish-fulfilling gems. Yet if you walk away without taking them, how sad that would be. Just accepting them is not enough. We also need, during our lifetime and in life after life, to rely on this precious bodhicitta to benefit sentient beings. So for unprofessional people, or people who haven't studied Mahayana Buddhism, they might find that Mahayana and lesser vehicle are the same with other words. But for those who have truly studied them, they're all different. We should also gradually become Mahayana practitioners. And this is the most important purpose of our studying Buddhism. Sentient beings of the 10 directions, if they ride the great vehicle, also have no increase or decrease, accommodating like space. Here it says, among all sentient beings of the 10 directions, there are many. If they ride the vehicle of the Mahayana, what do they attain? The realm without increase or decrease. Just like space, able to accommodate everything. We're also the same. If you study Mahayana Buddhism very successfully, then in your life, whether gain or loss, increase or decrease, you won't be as calculating as ordinary worldly people, so sensitive, suffering. You won't be like this. You can truly see it, even just sending a message, making a short phone call, or a brief interaction, whether Mahayana Buddhism has merged with the mind or not, could be seen truly very clear, unless some people, in their manifestation, liberate beings through the manner of not realizing Mahayana Buddhism. All should be very clear. Therefore, truly, Mahayana Buddhism, as long as it involves sentient beings, is especially soft and harmonious. We can say it's like space, able to accept everything. If we have nothing of Mahayana Buddhism, sometimes we can see perhaps the words used, and books that others have written most are negative and painful, or language that wounds sentient beings. If there's Mahayana in one's mind, it's truly like nectar. From beginning to end, everything is very gentle, warm, especially comfortable, bringing happiness to oneself and others. So whether we're speaking, writing articles, making phone calls, or sending messages, including sometimes the WeChat messages one sends, we can also see. Sometimes for us practitioners here, because of WeChat, nowadays everyone carries these information tools. Through these tools, we can see a person's thoughts. Some people may have suffering feelings but pretend to desperately write happy things. This also happens. Some people are especially happy but deliberately pretend, hiding themselves, appearing very painful on the surface, complaining about others. This is something else. Generally speaking, we should all be able to see whether we can accommodate sentient beings, accommodate all knowledge. We can understand this question through Mahayana thought. For this very reason, our praise of the Buddha's realm is something that deeply resonates with everyone. This should be from the Mahayana Ganavyuha Sutra, a sutra from the Han tradition. It states, alas, the Mahayana Dharma, subtle and inconceivable, the Tathagata's realm, sons of the Buddha should pay homage. This is said very well. Alas is like how wondrous, not necessarily a meaning of sorrow. We often say kima or ema ho. Perhaps this alas, as we use it now, carries a sense of sorrow and sadness, but here it means how wondrous. The Mahayana Dharma is subtle and inconceivable, and this subtle inconceivability is the Tathagata's realm. So we as sons of the Buddha should praise Mahayana Buddhism, praise the Tathagata's realm. Whoever has this in their mind, just as Shantideva said, whoever has the precious Bodhicitta, I pay homage to them. Whoever has the inconceivable realm of Mahayana Buddhism, we should pay homage to them. This is actually the Tathagata's realm. Therefore, we sincerely hope that everyone attains this state of neither increase nor decrease. Especially in this present era, Mahayana thought is very much needed, whether for one's own life, for others, and society. The Mahayana is inconceivable, with great miraculous powers and great wisdom. Therefore, all sentient beings should be effortful in familiarizing themselves with it. The Mahayana is inconceivable, and it has great miraculous powers, great wisdom, and so forth. The realm of Mahayana practice, of course, is all-encompassing, extremely rich, so any sentient being with karmic connection should very diligently practice and gather it. As for practice and gather, it means practice, and meaning is the same in Tibetan. That is to say, the Mahayana is inconceivable, and it's like a treasure vault. There's every kind. Whether you need miraculous powers or wisdom or great compassion, every kind of realm is there. It depends on your willings. Any sentient being can sincerely and diligently practice, and they will definitely attain corresponding happiness and realizations. All the gods, demons, and non-Buddhists wishing to eliminate the bondage of afflictions take refuge in the Mahayana. Here it also says, all the gods of the world, demons, and also non-Buddhists, especially people today, everyone has so many afflictions. It seems that nowadays, with our transportation and information, many things are becoming more and more convenient. But actually, behind all this convenience, afflictions are heavier, our suffering is greater. Such suffering, such afflictions, if not resolved, we will never be able to be happy, especially in this present era, the 21st century. Originally, it seems the 21st century should be the most successful. Actually, in terms of people's inner hearts, perhaps it's the most anxious, the most failed. Look now at people with psychological illnesses as a percentage of all humanity. You can search online. The suicide rate gets higher year by year. People with psychological illnesses, people with mental illnesses, people with schizophrenia, these are increasing more and more. Various physical, including cancer, AIDS, and so forth, these go without saying. In such an era, if sentient beings truly want to eliminate such suffering, Mahayana Buddhism is very much needed. Why do I say this? Most of our psychological suffering, 80 or 90%, comes from a selfish mindset, whether mental illness, anxiety disorder, loneliness disorder, or depression. All these illnesses, all the conflicts between people, scheming against each other, fighting each other, rejecting each other, all of this, all center around selfishness. Because now, driven by thinkers like Adam Smith and many such thoughts, people today are becoming more and more selfish. When we become more and more selfish, we actually become more and more miserable. At such a time, Mahayana Buddhism is truly very much needed. In the great Parinirvana Sutra, it says, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, toward afflictions, they generate fear. Those studying the Mahayana have no fear at all. I actually think that Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas aren't especially fearful of afflictions, unlike ordinary beings who truly, toward attachment, aversion, and ignorance toward all root afflictions and latent afflictions, not only generate fear, but relying on these sufferings, eventually we ourselves, even our bodies and lifespans, will come to an end. But Mahayana practitioners studying Buddhism don't have such fear toward afflictions. In fact, the more afflictions arise, the happier they are, right? When afflictions arise, they immediately have antidotes and methods to recognize them. Now, as we study Mahayana Buddhism, what's most fortunate? Others fear afflictions. We don't fear afflictions. Of course, I'm also speaking theoretically. In reality, I sometimes fear afflictions too. When afflictions arise, for a long time my mood suffers, my sleep suffers. But when there are no afflictions, just looking at the flowers in the courtyard, even before they've bloomed, I feel they've already bloomed. So this has everything to do with one's state of mind, still has a certain relationship. But the true teachings of Mahayana Buddhism are indeed, when we encounter afflictions, we immediately have methods to transform them into the path, methods to recognize their nature, and so forth. There are many methods, so if we want to eliminate afflictions, it's best to take refuge in Mahayana Buddhism. Not only take refuge, we should diligently study it. I think all of us here already have the opportunity to have taken refuge in Mahayana Buddhism, and we're fortunate to have studied so much Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism, as I also said last time, everyone should never abandon Mahayana Buddhism. Otherwise, it's truly very regrettable. For an individual, it's also an extremely great loss. The 3 knowledges and 3 liberations will conquer the Maras and Tartikas. If one is to also expel wrong views, the great vehicle is supremely needed. The Mahayana is most essential. Here, possessing the 6 miraculous powers, possessing the 3 enlightenments and 3 gates of liberation, the 6 powers, everyone should know. As for the 3 enlightenments and the 6 powers, they are knowledge of past lives, divine eye, and exhaustion of contaminants. Why are these 3 also in the 6 powers mentioned before, and also in the 3 enlightenments? Some texts, like the Great Treatise on the Perfection of Wisdom, have the explanation in this aspect. Why are they called the 3 enlightenments? Actually, the 3 enlightenments, such as the power of past lives, divine eye power, exhaustion of contaminants power, not only speak of their phenomena, but all their causal processes are explained very clearly. For example, knowledge of past lives, in the 6 powers it only speaks of its function and phenomena. But when speaking of the 3 enlightenments, including what kind of dharma one practiced in past lives, finally manifesting exhaustion of contaminants power or knowledge of past lives, the principle. As for the 3 gates, they are the 3 gates of liberation, as we all knew before. Mahayana Buddhism, actually in terms of merit, the 5 eyes, 6 powers, and other merits are naturally attained, able to destroy non-Buddhists, able to destroy all demons and all wrong views. We still very much need to eliminate wrong views, otherwise sometimes we truly have great difficulty getting through. So like Mahayana Buddhism, it can eliminate all wrong views, eliminate all non-Buddhist teachings. This is also very important. Some sutras say that Mahayana Buddhism is like a medicine called agada, and it can cure many illnesses, including poisonous snakes, and many poisonous things all can be cured. Agada medicine cures many illnesses. Mahayana Buddhism is also the same. It can cure many things, including attacks from non-Buddhists, obstacles from demons, wrong views, and in our practice, various laziness, afflictions as well. I see some Dharma teachers and volunteers here. They especially wish to generate Mahayana Bodhicitta. No conflicts with anyone. With everyone it's possible, because their heart's goal is to benefit sentient beings. Then as far as sentient beings, what kind of sentient beings can all be accommodated? Monastics are fine, lay people are fine, bad people are fine, good people are fine. All sentient beings are objects for forming connections because they let go of self. Once they let go of self, with everyone it's possible. But some might have wisdom but can't get along with anyone. Why? It's because bodhicitta hasn't been practiced well. That day when I was meeting with teachers, I said some people's IQ is fine, EQ is fine. Some people's IQ is good, EQ is not. Some people's IQ and EQ are both not good. At that time when several people were together, I analyzed each person like this. Actually, I myself might also not be good, but I said your IQ is still fine. When you teach things, you're very good, but your EQ is not good. With people in interpersonal relations, you can't get along with this one or that one. Some people, with everyone, it's possible. Truly like this difference is still very great. I think those who have bodhicitta, those with Mahayana bodhicitta, with everyone, interpersonal relations should be very good. How could there be a bodhisattva whose interpersonal relations with everyone are bad? Such a genuine bodhisattva, I'm afraid it's not possible. So our IQ and EQ ultimately is our altruistic mind good or not. If our altruistic mind is good, everyone praises unanimously. Wow, this person is excellent. Everyone will be like this. If the altruistic mind is not good, it might be very difficult. So you see here, the Mahayana is most essential, most important. If Mahayana bodhicitta is practiced very well, with everyone it should be. Even if it's a hateful enemy who hates you today, they're also repaying your kindness in another way, not opposing you at the moment. If the altruistic mind is not practiced well and EQ is also not good, originally there's nothing wrong, but you take this tiny thing and find fault with trifles, make a mountain out of a molehill. Some people truly are very skilled at this. Every day manufacturing an issue, this issue, that issue. No matter which department they go to, they create conflict, go to another department, create more conflict. This is, although all of us here, we don't have big conflicts, big problems, but sometimes between people, like what the Tibetans usually say, the 5 fingers all have different lengths. We can also see for ourselves, am I the long middle finger or the short finger or this one? We should be able to see. Is it this one or this one? We should be able to see. Everyone can also look. If you study Mahayana Buddhism very well, these non-Buddhists, demons, obstacles, these should all be absent and eliminated. Able to destroy all afflictions, possessing all roots of virtue. Therefore, the power of the Mahayana, truly difficult to conceive. Truly, Mahayana Buddhism can destroy attachment, aversion, ignorance, and all afflictions. It possesses compassion, bodhicitta, renunciation, and all roots of virtue. The power of such a Mahayana is truly inconceivable, especially in destroying afflictions. Generating wisdom within afflictions is very difficult. As for the Mahayana Sutra Lankara, for a while I thought about should I translate the Mahayana Sutra Lankara or not. This has already been translated by Dharma Master Dao Tai. I haven't yet found it in Tibetan Buddhism. There is a Mahayana Sutra Lankara. This one is by Rongzom Pandita, mainly about entering the Mahayana of secret teachings. The other Mahayana Sutra Lankara is from Han region. I remember it has 2 fascicles. It's still taught very well inside. That was translated during the time of Northern Liang, which was a very small state. Inside it quotes a teaching from Nagarjuna. Not from space does it exist, nor from the element of earth is it born, but from within afflictions one realizes Bodhi. Bodhi doesn't come from space, nor is it produced from the earth element. Rather, it's realized from within afflictions. Usually when we say afflictions are Bodhi, the meaning is also the same. Only Mahayana Buddhism has this ability. Why do we say inconceivable? Because such wisdom comes from within afflictions. The lesser vehicle generally doesn't dare say, doesn't dare even mention it. From within attachment, aversion, and ignorance can arise Bodhi. That's very difficult. So sometimes it's also inconceivable. All worldly dharmas and supramandan dharmas, dharmas of learners and no more learners, are gathered in the Mahayana. All worldly and supramandan dharmas, dharmas of learners and no more learners, are all included in the Mahayana. Why is this said? Because Mahayana Buddhism actually, as long as it benefits sentient beings, it can include poetics, grammar, epistemology, logic, all these useful worldly knowledges are also within the Mahayana. As for the supramundane, including emptiness, the grounds of learners and no more learners, the grounds of learners and no more learners in Mahayana and Hanayana, needless to say. Below is 7 characters. In our Tibetan, below is 9 characters. If there are sentient beings who follow evil paths, draw near to wrong views and evil teachers, if some sentient beings themselves follow evil paths, draw near to evil teachers, draw near to wrong views, they should distance themselves from these matters and take refuge in the Mahayana, distance themselves from relying on wrong views and evil teachers, should take refuge in the Mahayana. In Tibetan, there seems to be a slight difference between the upper and lower parts, but the difference isn't great, so we won't change it. If people do not delight in seeking the Mahayana, they cannot destroy the bonds of afflictions. If some people are unwilling to seek Mahayana Buddhism, their afflictions might not necessarily be resolved. Their afflictions might only be partially eliminated, but complete elimination is impossible. Wishing to seek liberation, study the Mahayana. If one wishes to attain liberation, studying the Mahayana, if there are great people who accomplish great deeds, if one truly wishes to accomplish great deeds, open great wisdom, accomplish great deeds that benefit sentient beings, hearing the Mahayana taught, the mind rejoices. No, this is a person of the Mahayana. If some people hear, just as it says in the Madhyamakavatara, if while still an ordinary being, hearing of emptiness, joy arises repeatedly within. From this joy, tears flow forth, and the body's hair pores spontaneously stand erect. Such a person shows they have Mahayana faculties and seeds. Some people, whenever Mahayana Buddhism is taught, especially resonate. I personally think I should have karmic connections with the Mahayana. When emptiness is taught, I especially resonate with it. Moreover, regarding emptiness, I can remember it. When the guide to the Bodhisattva way of life is taught, it seems especially familiar. Every sentence especially resonates with me. But if we're not like this, perhaps every sentence generates a huge pile of wrong views. Yesterday there was a monk who kept knocking at my door. Knock, knock, knock. I opened the door and looked. He said, "I'm sorry, this morning I generated wrong views about you." Then I said, "It's fine, you go back." "Okay, fine, fine." Then he went back. It seems he studied a little Tibetan, so whether toward individuals or others, sometimes generating wrong views is also normal. But if one has affinity with this Dharma teacher and this teaching, truly it's not easy to generate wrong views, and one is especially joyful. You see some Dharma friends, when they hear Mahayana Buddhism, wow, they're overjoyed, even thought they haven't studied particularly well. Every day they're extremely happy, like he eat happy nuts every day. I think this is also this kind of Mahayana quality. The mind rejoices after hearing the Mahayana. No, this is a person of the Mahayana. Let's stop here for today. Being people of the Mahayana is good. The auspiciousness is very good.
Bandharangara Padmasada Bandharangara Padmasada